talk about missions, a lot of people think about, going to do mission work. I'm going to work for God and do God's work. But really, probably a more accurate way to say it is God's on a mission, and He invites us to join Him on that mission. And so, even from the call of Abraham, where He talks about all the families of the earth will be blessed, and then Jesus in Matthew 24 talks about just the whole world will hear the gospel to all the nations again. And those are people groups. So we think of geographic, nations, but it's really people groups around the world. And then also the Great Commission. And then, of course, in Revelation, we see everybody around the throne from every people group. I mean, if you can just pause and imagine that. So God's made this plan known to us of what He's doing. And just the idea, Revelation is my favorite book of the Bible, and this actually is my favorite verse because you just get to see the majesty of God and how His will be done. No matter what happens on the earth, we'll see it done. And it's just such a beautiful picture when you really grasp it. There it is. And so the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So just my call to do gospel work internationally, I was literally probably back in 2016, I was sitting in my room and I thought, you know what? I've never, ever shared the gospel in a different country. I should probably do that. And so I got on my computer, I went to my church website at the time, and just was like, okay, what's the next trip? And it was Barranquilla, Colombia. And so, and by the way, how many of you think there's a U in Colombia? It's not. It's Colomba. So it's like, I didn't even know how to spell Colombia, but I went there. And so my heart was lit on fire at that time, just seeing the receptivity, just in a different nation, going among the streets to everybody, and just to see their eagerness to hear the gospel. We think of Colombia as, oh, well, that's a Christian nation. It's like, well, they know about Jesus. A lot of people know about Jesus, but they don't know Jesus. And so when they hear the good news, literally we can have a team or a couple of teams down there, let's say about 5 teams working neighborhoods, building up churches, spreading the gospel. And by the end of 1 week, we'll have over 1,200 people pray to receive Christ and connected into a local church after that work. So there's a thirst for the gospel. And that's what set my heart on fire. And one thing I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask is, pray, is God calling me, y'all? Maybe it's a young family. Maybe you're closer to retirement like I was. And, God said, hey, time to leave the corporate world. I want to send you somewhere. And so ask that question. Don't think it's an automatic, no, I'm good here in Katy. So I won't, when Jesus says the fields are white for harvest, if you think about every grain in the wheat field is a person who's desperately waiting to hear the gospel. Now, I won't tell you about each one of these people. After service, I'll be hanging out over there, and I would love to tell you more about the changed lives that are actually happening that we've seen out there in the gospel. But the one on the lower right hand, lower left, I didn't take that picture of the guerrilla fighter, but there's a man named Jorge that works for Prison Fellowship down in Colombia, which is one of the ministries I'll be working with. And he actually was arrested, sent to prison, in prison, became a Christian, and now he works with Prison Fellowship to support the gospel, going back into the prison. So I work with an agency called One Mission Society. One Mission Society has been around since 1901, where they started out doing work in Japan to saturate Japan with the gospel. And they've been in Colombia for over 80 years to saturate Colombia. We're in, I think, 52 languages. We do ministry in 52 languages and are in over 81 countries around the world today. So we're taking the gospel everywhere. So I'm part of One Mission Society. And there at the bottom, you really can't tell, but Satura, Colombia, Men for Missions, Igleco, the seminary that they have down in Medellin, which is where I'll be living, down Medellin, Colombia, and Confraternidad, which is Prison Fellowship down in Colombia. So I'll be working with those ministries. And the last one, so I'll be doing some evangelism for individuals, communities, training of pastors and church leaders to get the gospel out, to equip them. And then one day, I have the picture up there of Turkey, one day, perhaps, mobilizing Christians to go from Colombia to Turkey. And you may say, like, well, that's a strange connection. I'll be happy to explain more of that connection over at the side. It's a beautiful connection, but the way mission work for the past several hundred years has been from the west to the rest, but today it's from everywhere to everywhere. It's like God is speeding up the gospel going around the world, and getting to be part of that is a beautiful thing. And that's me.
There you go.